Hey, what's up, everybody? It's video 44 coming at you with another video. I went back and I listened to my video in regards to Dennis Schroeder's um, rejecting of the Lakers 4-year deal. I wanted to go back and see what my response was to that initially because I did not remember what I thought of that. And I went back and I listened to myself, and I was not as gung ho about him not signing that deal from his perspective as maybe I thought I had been looking back on it. That's why it's important that I do so I'll know what my takes are because I tend not to really think too much about stuff. I get new information and I just forget about what I say or think or whatever. I just leave it in the past. But as it pertains to the contract, I wanted to know what I thought because if I'm being completely honest with you, I'm trying to figure out if him turning down that deal was so bad, if he plays better to end the playoffs, could the gamble have paid off? And at the time I was saying I didn't think he was going to get that money anywhere else. And I said I think he's trying to shoot up to 100, and I'm pretty sure he's not getting that. So I had that part on point. I think where I was really off was my intention of what the Lakers would do with his money if he walked. I thought we would give it to Andre Drummond, but no, that was way off. 4 months could change a lot. Once Andre got here, I realized he wasn't that player at all. But everything else that I said, I was pretty much optimistic about as far as Dennis Schroeder's future was concerned. I figured that he would have offers. But what ended up going wrong for Dennis Schroeder was just how he played ultimately. That's what really hurt him. And like I had said in several other videos, a lot of that had to do with the way the team looked in terms of their roster when he got back, as opposed to how they looked before he left for that COVID situation. And the NBA removed him from the from the team for about, I'd say, 4 games or something like that. And in that 4-game span, I think what ended up happening was I think AD got hurt. I think that's how that went. Or more so, I think Braun came back from injury or something of that nature, but it shuffled things in such a way that changed the dynamic for a guy like Dennis Schroeder, who already was coming back from a week of not being able to work out and run like he normally had. So he wasn't quite as sharp as he normally would be, and was slumping, I think, as a result of that, possibly. Just a lot of things went wrong, And it's easy to say he's a goofy dude for not taking the Lakers' $84 million contract, but I would be a full-fledged hypocrite if I didn't say that I look back on what I was thinking when saying that, and saying that I thought he could play it up. I thought he could at least get that from somewhere else. I didn't think he would be able to get more money necessarily, but I did not have any idea that his free agency would look this bad. I didn't see it coming, but ultimately it was a lot going on there. And just like I've always said, when you don't speak and you allow the media to run rampant with whatever your last message was, even if you've changed your mind, whatever your last statement was to the public in regards to your free agency that you either said out of your own mouth or relayed through your representation, that message needed to be updated as new information came his way about the league as a whole and his own value. If he didn't receive any new information, then you look at his management and you say, what are you guys doing? But then you have to look back at the player and say, well, if management's not doing their part, you got to take it upon yourself to make sure management is representing you the way that you want to be represented. And so ultimately it's just how you play it. Once things start to change, once you realize your value is changing, what you do next will determine how things go. I think Dennis Schroeder sat on his hands and let things fall apart instead of being proactive quickly in the moment. And it's so tough because it's like An athlete don't think like this. You know what I mean? He's expecting his representation to get him what he's asking for, and that's it. And it's so very depressing and sad to think about a player that he's good and he's healthy and he's young. He could provide the value of the $84 million. Because as a Laker fan, looking back on it, I don't feel as good about that contract as I would have if he signed it that day. As I said in the video, that I felt either way. I felt good if he doesn't sign it because I felt like we could use that money in better ways. But I felt good if he did sign it because I felt like he was, a good compliment to LeBron James as a score-first point guard who he could feed the ball to, and it would be a fitting situation. All we needed was a guy who could score first, in my mind at that time. So I felt like he was a good fit, and at the time he was playing well. He was playing well enough to where you feel comfortable giving him a good contract. Now, $20+ million a year. In hindsight, I would love to look at myself and say, "Can you kill that, please?" Just understand that that's not a good contract for a player that of Dennis Schroeder's caliber. He's not good enough defensively for a contract like that. I wish I could tell myself that 4 months ago, but other than that, I mean, he's a good player. It's not like this is a guy who can't play. It's just not like this is somebody who's going to give you trouble. The Boston's going to be better for having him. Significantly better in some ways, I think. But, he just made a bad decision about his free agency and didn't stop the bleeding at the end of the day when things started going wrong. So it is what it is, man. You gotta learn from that. We all gotta learn from that, as I've said a million times. But I'll tell you this: when people are weighing whether or not this is a success or failure for Dennis Schroeder, what the reality is, what you're really looking at, is not just this contract that he just signed, but whatever contract comes after this. That'll tell you whether or not this was a success or failure. Because at the end of the day, you're not looking at it as an $84 million contract. In his case right now, you're looking at it as more so like a $21 million contract for 1 year. So if you do your math, because you're looking at it from a per year basis, because he's going to be a free agent next year. He can very well be able to sign, say, a 3-year, $60 million contract next year if he plays up his value high enough, right? You could see a player of his caliber getting 20 a year if he goes out and has a 6-man of the year kind of year next year. He could do that. He could push it. I don't know if he'll get 60, but he can push it. You know what I mean? He'll play up to that, I think. And then you'll look at it, and it's a totality, both the $5 million that he signed this year and that contract, to really determine how bad he did here in turning down that Laker contract. So I figured I'd throw that out there because I don't think many people are looking at it that way. But that's the proper way to truly gauge what he's dealing with, because the contract that the Lakers were giving him was a 4-year deal. So just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, man, as far as the Boston Celtics are concerned now going forward, they're a lot better team, as I've said. I've talked about this. They're flexible. Now they can do some things that maybe they couldn't do before signing him. So look for them to maybe try to swing a trade of some sort, especially if there's a big splash to make. I know that in this situation, Dennis Schroeder is signing up to play behind Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart has a very, very, very favorable contract that any and all teams are going to want in the event that they swing their star to Boston Celtics. So let's say Boston gets a chance at Dame or something. You can be dang sure that Marcus Smart will be heading out for that deal to work, because that contract is too juicy. Any and all franchises are going to want that contract. I think he's at $50-something million, 4 years. A player that good defensively, someone who can help facilitate your basketball, player who's ascending in talent. In terms of his age, he's only going to get better. He's not headed downward yet as far as Marcus Smart is concerned. So, yeah, that I can totally see that being moved, as to which Dennis Schroeder would have an opportunity maybe at having a different type of role or a bigger role. It's going to be kind of hard for him. Obviously if they bring in Dame, no, that will not be the case. But I'm saying if there's a way that they can free up space for him I expect him to run rampant with the starting position. I don't know that he beats Marcus Smart for that starting position. Like I said in the previous video, I think Marcus Smart has earned this opportunity finally after all these years. And I think he's a good enough player to where he's gonna keep that job. I don't think he gives that back. But Dennis Schröder will push him. Dennis Schröder will definitely push him, and I think there will be opportunities to put Dennis Schröder and Marcus Smart both in lineups together, with moving Jaylen Brown to the 3 and Jason Tatum, of course, playing the 4. So they have some lineup opportunities to get Dennis Schröder his minutes and kind of showcase him. Don't be surprised if they trade him at the deadline as well, since that's an expiring contract. That's something they can get a pick for, or something like that, if they don't want to re-sign him next year, if their team isn't really as good or what have you. So, Boston has plenty of flexibility. Congratulations to Brad Stevens and the crew for pulling off that move. Anyway, that's what I got, man. Ain't much else. Just relaxing today. I appreciate you guys for watching. My name is BDO44, and I'm out.